Hey everyone, it's Brian again from Guess Who Gifts. I am here today to kind of show you everything that you need to make a nice quality tumbler. I'm going to be making one. I'm not going to make one in this video, but showing you what is needed. And this is specifically for a 20-ounce one is what I'm using, but this could be for a 15-ounce or a 20-ounce or a 30-ounce or whatever different ounces you have. So the tumblers I'm talking about are Sublimation tumblers. This one happens to be a 15-ounce, and this one sells really well for kids. But the one that I'm about to show is for a 20-ounce sublimation tumbler. You need to make sure it's sublimation. Normally there's a little gray dot there. I'll pull one out that has one of those on there, but the little silver dot you normally pull off before you bake it. But anyway, here we go. This is everything that you need to get started. Okay, so I'm just going to go down the list and kind of explain what everything's for. But obviously you need an image and a computer to print it, but I'm using Silhouette Studio, but you can use any software. I've even used something like Snagit, or I heard people using Word, but a editing software that you can print, whether it's Cricut Design Space, Photoshop, you name it, you can use any of those. But once you print it on a sublimation printer, this one's a EcoTank ET4760. I'm using Printer's Jack ink, and then I'm using A-Sub paper, which I used 125 gram. I don't have a box here to show you, but obviously you want to make sure you're not printing on the side that says A-Sub. You print on the other side. But anyway, this one, the ET4760, only does 8.5 by 11. So it's not one I would recommend for everyone. You know, it's cheap for the 20-ounce tumblers, but if you're trying to do the 30-ounce tumblers, it doesn't really work for those because it only goes up to 8.5 by 11. So then the next thing that you'll really need is a convection oven or an air fryer, whatever you want to call it. I really like this one. It's a Hamilton Beach, as you can see right here. And what I like about it is when I turn it on, it sets a timer and what the temperature is set to and what the temperature is there. Where other ones, you have to look and see what temperature it's at right here, right here on the knob. But here it's digital, and so you can kind of turn it down or up and set the timer exactly, right? So for a tumbler, I normally do 6 minutes, right here, 6 minutes, and I do it on air fry. Because that little fan in there continues to blow. And then I do mine at normally 385 is what I set this to, but my oven actually is off, and so that really is like 360. So I do the internal temperature of 360, which brings me to the next point, that you need a internal thermometer. Mine happens to be a Rubbermaid, and what I do is I just hang mine right here on this little hook, so you can see it right there like that. And so I can have up to 3 tumblers in this one, I think. Sometimes that one, the thermometer gets in the way if I'm doing 3, but basically you want it right there, or a little, it's starting to get hot in there. I shouldn't reach my hand in there, but you hang it right there so you can see what the actual temperature of the oven is. And not go by whatever it says right here. But I think this oven works great. I took out the bottom and I stand the tumbler right there in the middle. And then next you need a oven glove. I really like this brand. I'll put a link to it in my comments or in the description down below. But I really like this one. It's black. I have 2 of them. See, there's 2. I really like those. And you can reach in. I put both of them on whenever I reach in because the edge is hot and you don't want to burn yourself. And then there's different methods, right, that you can do. You can do shrink wrap. You can do masking tape. I have 2 different sizes of shrink wrap depending on who you buy it from. They both work. This one is a little less than 5 inches. It works pretty good because it doesn't have to shrink a whole lot to cover your 20-ounce mug tumbler. This one is a little over 5 inches, and it needs to shrink a little more so it looks a little sloppier and a little more wrinkly. But with both of them, I actually cut off about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch so that there's not a lot of excess. And I'll show that in a different video, but The shrink wrap, you know, it melts once it gets too hot, so that's why I recommend a 350 to 360 degrees. You can also do masking tape, so you put the A-sub paper around the tumbler, and then you put masking tape really tight. I'll do a full video on this as well. And then this here is a silicone wrap, and I'm going to do a separate video on how to use it, but basically it just wraps around your tumbler pretty tightly, and you use that instead of the shrink wrap or instead of the masking tape. And I'll do a separate video on that. If you are going to use the shrink wrap, you need a heat gun. I really like this heat gun, but you can get a much smaller heat gun. You don't need one like this. This one gets up to 1400 degrees. It's pretty cool, and you can do up and down with the temperature, and you can do it cool. So sometimes I've used it to cool things off even. But very good heat gun. You don't need something this powerful. If you are going to do a silicone wrap, you should have like a butcher paper or parchment paper. I like having this dispenser right here. It's by Brico Goods. I think I got it on Amazon. But basically you just pull out however far you need, and then rip it. Sorry, that probably sounded loud, and then rip it off and wrap it around the tumbler. And I'll do a different video with that, but highly recommend getting the dispenser. It makes it much easier. And also you would need the heat tape. If you're going to be, no matter what you're using, you always need the heat tape. The heat tape is what is going to attach the A-sub paper to your tumbler, and you need to make sure this is super tight. And again, on my YouTube channel, I have another video with me using this heat tape, so check it out. This is nothing. It's just a thing for my website, guesswhogifts.com. And then the last thing, I always use one of these. This is a lint-free rag, kind of like what you buy for a car wash. That's my dog barking. And what I do every time I make one, I wipe down the tumbler with this. It's a lint-free rag, just to make sure there's nothing on it. No lint, no fuzz, no nothing. I always use that to make sure that it's nice and clean and no fingerprints before I start the sublimation process. And then before I print the image, I actually always use a clothing tape measure so that I can measure the height of a tumbler and the girth or the diameter of the tumbler. And I like this kind because it's more flexible and you can wrap it around. And you know, everyone would think that the 20-ounce tumblers are all the same. Well, the batch I just got is literally just like 1 centimeter or 2 centimeters taller than the couple hundred I've used before. So anyway, I always recommend measuring just to make sure you're on the same page. The last thing that you would need, really, what I always do, and not that you need this brand, you could just do a wet wipe even, but after it's done, I just always wipe it off or whatever, just in case there's any residue from any of the paper, the tape, or anything. I always wipe it off. And then obviously you'll need a trash can to put all the excess stuff in. But the last thing you'll need is a cool way to ship it, right? Most of them come with a the little bubble wrap and a straw, or maybe it's a metal straw. But after that, I bought these cool boxes on Amazon, and they fit one perfect, right? So whenever you're done, you can ship it to someone just like that. And then I think it's pretty cool to have it. And I put a little business card and maybe one of my little bricks in there to kind of help, and some bubble wrap or whatnot. I wanted to show you one other thing. I don't have any extra ones right now, but just to kind of show you, see, here's a metal straw in this one. There's these cool rubber bottoms, which when I sell my tumblers, I sell them with this on the bottom. So I highly recommend it. It makes a different sound. Let me show you. When you set it down, it sounds like that. When you set down another one, right? Big difference. And so it's like a stabilizer, coaster. Some people call it a coaster. So it's just a rubber bottom. The only thing is you definitely can't put these in the dishwasher once they have the rubber thing, even though they say not to put a tumbler in the dishwasher anyway. So anyway, that's about everything that I think you would need. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope this helps someone. I almost forgot to mention this because I didn't have it over here. But another thing that I use all the time, right, is to cut anything, right? You just put this down, line it up, and then slide this over, and it makes it a nice clean cut. If you don't have one, I highly recommend it. That's what I use to cut out my images, to make sure they're a perfect square and no white lines and whatnot. So this one's a Fisker brand. You know, this thing slides out if you've never seen it, so you can measure and make sure you're doing the lining it up okay. But anyway, I really like this brand and it works well, and there's tons of other brands and even better ones than this, but I like this one. Anyway, thank you. Thanks again for watching. Again, this is Brian from Guess Who Gifts, and I hope you subscribe, and be sure to check out my Etsy page for some of these products. And thanks again. Subscribe below.